that doesn't augur well for the woman's seriousness. Everything that I see coming from her, I do take with a grain of salt. Even if there would be no suspicions about the person, and there's somebody else around, actually used to be a member of my shul, who I think has one of the ugliest blogs out there, a person who has taken virtually everybody in Torah society and living dead for about 2 generations back and called every name under the sun. I don't take him very seriously either. Now, that doesn't mean he's wrong about everything, but it means that I find it revolting even to look at. Don't look at his life. And it's been off the web for a while. It's starting to come on again. I don't believe he's a positive presence. Blogs are problematic for a number of reasons. Even if you have the worst bloggers out there, they're not wrong all of the time. And it assigns people credibility beyond which they should have. Anybody remembers back to their Psych 1 days and did a little bit of experimental psychology remembers that the most efficient reinforcement schedule is a variable, what's it called, a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, where instead of giving a rat a pellet every time it pushes the lever, sometimes it gets it on the 3rd time, sometimes it gets it on the 5th time, sometimes it gets it 2 in a row. The expectation, even for a rat, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, is a very, very good way of creating behavior and association. If bloggers, 1 time out of 10, come up with a real story that's true, a real winner, they will have credibility to the other 9 that are duds. I have not seen blogs that vet their stories and make sure that every accusation out there has been checked out, determined to be true, or anything close to the standard of what ordinary people would consider true, certainly what halacha would consider warranted. Particularly when, by their very nature, the people making the accusations on the blogs are anonymous. They don't use their names. I have seen people, I can't tell you whether they're innocent or guilty, but I have seen people destroyed or near destroyed by accusations coming from people whose names are never provided, no names, no dates, no places. It's very easy to do that. There is no legal protection from it. It is something that society eventually is going to have to deal with, although I'm not sure that they will. I've actually sat down with constitutional law professors, tried to see if there's anything imaginable that could be used as a way of getting a TRO, a temporary restraining order, for just series of accusations. There is nothing preventing anybody here in this room from going to a blog tonight and saying, I want to collect information about Adlerstein. I heard him speak about abuse. I think people who speak about abuse are high abuse. And the reason why he's talking about this is because he has skeletons in his closet. I never liked the guy anyway. And I know one colleague for whom this was done. It didn't get very far. I'm not going to give you any names of places, but a guy who started briefly a blog to look for information about a particular guy. He was a sort of high-profile figure, and I suspect he was involved in a legal case or a din Torah on a monetary matter and wanted to get back at him. So he put out on the blog, this guy is a child molester, and I'm looking for other people who corroborate. There is no way legally to protect anybody from such a charge. And guess what would happen? What would happen if one of you put that out tonight? Had 3 people who didn't like me said, yeah, I remember, I think I remember, I did remember, whatever. Don't put their names, no names, no places, and say, yeah, he did this, he did that, and there's 3 things out there. How many people are going to believe me, and how many people are going to believe those reports? I don't know what the percentage is, but there'll be enough out there that are probably rooting. And there's nobody to recover from. You can't even by law get the owner of the server to have to provide the names of people who posted in an effort to balance the internet.
So the person afterwards,
yes. If you could prove that you didn't libel, but that's so hard to do even when you know names of places, you know libel law in the United States. It's so difficult. But how do you ever prove anything when you have amorphous charges without localizing anything? How do you prove innocence? So the chances are next to nil of ever being able to do that. So in effect, because of the strength of our constitutional protection on free speech, there really is no way to prevent scurrilous accusations, particularly by anonymous people. The reason why some of these laws worked up until now is because you couldn't make a charge about somebody without showing your face. And there's a certain amount of embarrassment or fear that you will be shown wrong and subject to a suit. Laws have changed all that. You can say whatever you want about anybody and cause untold damage and nobody knows. That's the other side. So I will tell you that halachically, first of all, I think you shouldn't be reading them. If you do read them, you have an obligation to first say, do I need to be reading this? Say you're a parent and you want to know what's going on in your community, you want to keep it away. And you read all this stuff. Then you have an obligation to sort of take the ideas in mind without believing them. This is halakha. Until you can prove the charge, the most that you can do is protect yourself, that you have no right halakhically to believe it. It's a tough job for some people, but it is a halakhic obligation. Ironically, I can point to at least one case, and I'm not going to give you the identifying marks, of one person who was charged with some pretty serious abuse, in this case not child abuse, and people in his community, one important person in the community said, I don't know if this person X, is guilty or innocent, but if it turns out he's guilty, the reason why he was able to evade the wrath of the community so long is because blogs pointed to his guilt. And so many people were so fed up with it and saw this as so, like just the ability to make these charges without backing them up, that they were repelled by them, and that gave maybe a guilty party, if he turned out to be guilty, longer credibility in the community because people didn't want to believe the stuff because blogs they didn't like and didn't trust were contributing to the hunt against them. Next, we're getting close to the end. I'm throwing this in because I actually sat in a room once where a group of aggrieved parents pretty much ganged up against the officers of a major organization, an organization that may or may not, very likely yes, made some serious mistakes about somebody in their employ, about whom there were serious allegations, and who was convicted and was doing time, was already well out of the picture. It wasn't handled the right way, but the case did come out and it was prosecuted. This fellow was no longer a threat. But people came and they wanted more. They wanted blood. They wanted people punished. They didn't want a new protocol, in effect, which actually was forthcoming. They wanted to see people punished and suffer for their sins. I believe that is a profoundly un-Jewish reaction. It's understandable. It's a kind of human reaction, but not every human reaction is a properly Jewish reaction. It's not our business to punish people. It's our business to get people out of harm's way and to make sure that mistakes are not repeated in the future.